SBTV.
Yo, what's up? This is Marcè Reazon. I'm from Long Beach, California. I produce for Troy Ave, Kid Cudi, Kid Daytona, tons of artists. I engineer for John Legend, Kanye West, and you tuning into SBTV Producer's House. So how I got started producing music was probably like back in 2009. I was engineering, back when like MySpace was like mad popular, like I actually reached out to this guy, Anthony Killoffer. Basically just reached out to him and kind of was like, you know, yo, I'm interested in engineering, because that's what I wanted to do at first, was to be an engineer. And then he basically, you know, after like a couple like Q&As, he hit me back and he was like, you know, yo, I want to meet up. And literally, man, we met up and just been rocking from there, and just kind of just took it from there and learned how to become an engineer first. And then after that, soon after that, I started learning how to produce and just doing tons of records for a bunch of local acts at first, and then after that it kind of transpired to me working with, you know, bigger artists. The first big thing I ever did was the Maniac record with Anthony Killoffer, Mike Dean, and that was on Kid Cudi's Man on the Move 2. That was the first record I ever like did production, like co-produce and shit like that. So it's crazy. I've always had a studio inside my house, so like always growing up, like I've always had this like little like home away from home in the garage, and like it had like a desk and like computer and like the works, you know what I mean? And I never wanted to go in that bitch, like never. And so it wasn't until like, you know, some shit went down and kind of had some like crazy outcome that I started working on making like an album. I was like, yo, I want to express myself musically, and literally I put out an album called Misplaced Hearts, and that was like the first ever thing that I got into as far as like engineering and like doing production and shit like that. So it was crazy. That was actually after I started working with Anthony Killoffer and shit. How like I started getting into making my own beats by making that transition from engineer to producer. It kind of was weird in a way, because I started, you know, I was mixing records for like a ton of people, but nobody was ever really paying attention to like my beats. And it was crazy because like I was making all this music and I was like recording my own shit, and I used to send it out to people and be like, yo, what do you think about this? And like people would hit me back and they'd be like, yo, that shit's dope, like that shit's crazy. But I was like, oh, I'm gonna just play the background, you know, be an engineer and kind of like just run with it. And so it wasn't until I started working on Misplaced Hearts that everybody was like, yo, you should start making more music, like that shit's actually pretty dope. So that's when I started like transitioning over more and like, yo, I need to be an artist and like, you know, doing more shit, you know what I mean? And my first pieces of equipment was an Akai MPD 32, an MPK49, and like fucking Reason and Logic. Those were my first pieces of equipment. And then it wasn't until I started working with Anthony Killoffer that I had to learn how to use Pro Tools, because I was doing like a bunch of mixing and shit, so I had to like learn on the fly. But then I kind of like, I guess, evolved as an artist, and I started using more things. So I started using Ableton, I started using more of Reason. I basically learned to combine all of them together to create different sounds or to come up with different effects, because you know, you're only as good as, you know, the programs you know how to use or the equipment you know how to use. So for me, I'm really versatile in all these programs, and I'm really good at using them, and they all do specific things that they're known for and that they're good at. So I've learned how to adapt all of them and kind of bring all those elements together and create what I want to create. Well, about to show you all the equipment, man. The setup is pretty crazy, but you know, you can work with it, you know, whether it's on a big budget, small budget, whatever. You can get a lot of stuff done, man. You know, it's just all in how you do it, and you know, the time you take to really put into your craft. So come with me, check it out. So starting with the start with the booth. I got a Samson CO1 microphone. Motherfucker costs 79 bucks, I swear to God. And I swear I get the best vocals sound you can ever get out of a condenser microphone. I mean, it's all about how you put it together, how you EQ, how you compress, stuff like that. So, bam, there you go. Next piece of equipment I got, Oxygen 49, made by, I think it's M Audio if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check. Yeah, M Audio, because I don't want to give y'all the wrong plug. But I mean, this thing was only like 99 bucks, and again, it's all in how you use it. You know what I mean? Like, you can literally create what you want to create with any piece of equipment you got. So yeah, there you go. So the creative process has changed, I guess, significantly throughout like my entire production career. Because for me, it was mainly finding a comfortable workflow so that I can easily create beats faster for people. Because so many people wanted music, you know what I mean? Like Troy Ave was hitting me up and he was like, yo, I need some beats, and Kid Daytona, you know, and these dudes, like, I respect these dudes because they're people that I've wanted to work with for a really long time. And so the process and the workflow is kind of like, now it's more like streamlined to, like, you know, I'm using more than one program to create the idea or to get the idea across. But mainly I'll start off with something really basic, you know, something really basic, something really simple, and I'll just affect the shit out of it until it just finally comes out the way I want it to come out. I got my Lexicon MX200 down there. It's just basically for effects, for vocals and shit like that. That was like 200 bucks. I mean, again, it's all about what you do with it. This is the big boy right here. This is the Tascam DM3200 automated board. Basically does digital and analog. I mean, this guy was a bit more expensive, but you know, that's because I do a little bit more higher end projects, so I need it. You know, to try to get that analog sound, because in order, you know, if you try to get analog sound on a computer, you won't be able to achieve that unless you have the proper plugins and stuff like that. So this bad boy here is the shit. I love it to death, and I really suggest that if you can get one, get one. I mean, it's the shit. My sound is not really that dark. It's actually, I guess you could say, it's my yin and yang. You know, it's like in person I'm a really nice guy. Everybody says I'm really cool. But I guess there's like this inside of me that just has to like let out, and it comes across in my music, and it comes across pretty dark. But it's dope. I try to bring every element, you know, to whatever I bring to the table. So got my computer, my Mac Pro Tower. It's basically decked out, 10 gigs of RAM, nothing crazy. Got my Logic, my Ableton, Pro Tools 10 and 11. I use Native Instruments, Reason, Logic, Ableton, BPM made by Motu, Recycle, Record. I mean, pretty much anything I can get my hands on. So, I know how to use every last bit and fucking piece of it, because you're only as good as what you know how to use. So, and then Machine, I actually just got this thing today. I'm excited about this motherfucker right here. But I know how to use it because I've done my research. I've watched videos. You know, it's all about how you use it. And then my Rocket 6 KRK speakers, man, these are the shit. They put out really, really, really great sound. You can always get the smaller ones, the 4s. Those do really great. The 10s or the 8s if you got the budget for it. But I mean, these bad boys, they're the shit, man. They get the job done. So there you go. It's my studio. It's what I'm working with. I think my live performance is how it separates, what my live performance separates me from any other, you know, producer or artist, is the fact that I'm bringing more of a live performance. I guess you could say that, like, I'm not just getting up on stage and just rapping. I'm actually doing stuff like recreating my beats on stage live. You know, having a DJ on stage, Of course, any artist has a DJ on stage, but I think that the element in just recreating those beats and then actually getting up there and performing that vocally for you, or you know, just bring that element to live performances. I think that just puts me on a different platform. You know what I mean? Because it makes the show more creative. It makes people more into it. It you know, it takes over your body when you listen to, you know, and watch me put this stuff together. So now let me show y'all how I make a beat, man. Let me show y'all how I get down. I can turn it down. So I got this sample that I found, man. It's this Ellie Goulding Every Time You Go record. I fell in love with like the beginning melody where she's like singing the every time you go. That shit to me just sounded just crazy. I've actually had this record in my sample archives for like months and didn't actually decide to touch it till like a couple weeks ago. So I'm gonna break it down for you guys. Let me show you guys how my creative mind, you know, does shit. So check it out. So how that started was basically I did this half in Ableton, just like the drums and like shit like that, because it just, to me, it sounded a lot better in Ableton, because when I tried it in Logic it just didn't come out the same. So what I did was I started with the samples. So check it out. So you probably noticed like at the end it's a bit stretched out. That's because I warped it in Ableton to make it sound a lot more stretched out at the end, so that it sounds a little bit better and it flows and it loops really clean. One other thing I do with my samples is like I always use tons and tons of effects, because it just gives it a different feel every time you like try to do something different with it. So one of the coolest effects that I have is this one made by Effectrix. It's made by Sugar Bites. This shit is amazing. So what I did was I just basically, it's looped 32 bars out on Effectrix, and I basically took the loop and chopped it up and adjusted the X fade speed and the size and shit like that. So this is what the sample actually sound like afterward. So like after I did that, it kind of gave me like a different type of feel and brought out the beat a little bit better. And then I actually took her drums from the beginning. So I'll play these two together for you guys so you guys can see what they sound like. And then I added some drums to it. Fucking around with it, I kind of like came up with that little drum pattern, so it ended up giving me something that sounded a little bit like this. So I'm gonna play this for you. Real simple drum pattern, just something really nice. Added my 808. So, I mean, that's how I like started it out. Something real simple in Ableton. I did some extra shit in Ableton, some like really like effects type stuff. So I did some like DJ performance stuff. So made it sound really dope whenever I wanted to like drop it. So if I wanted to drop the record to try to like give it this effect, I actually have it set up on my keyboard, but I did this thing where Let me see if I could do it for you guys really quick. Just kind of give you that effect, but I did this right here. Added my little keys in there from Absinthe, right? And then when you play with the 808, this shit sounds amazing. So you kind of get this like crazy ass sound together. So from there, I basically took it, exported it, put it in Logic, and did some more co-production and stuff like that on the record. So check it out. I'm gonna drop it in Logic for you guys. Alright, so I've exported the project from Ableton to Logic. Once I did that, you can see here like I got all my waves and shit from Ableton. I did a ton more production in this record, but just to kind of like play it for you guys a little bit, I did some like shit with like, I basically took this sample from her name's Nia, and the record is called Made For You. Basically I took this little bit and added it within the sample to kind of give it more of a like airy feel. So check it out. I'm gonna play it for you real quick. So basically these two samples are, the God sample is Pusha T from New God Flow. Basically this is the same sample I used in the record that I produced called God Level. And this shit, I mean, just sounds amazing. I added it with some synth. So I'm gonna play it for you guys. The synth is filtered. That dark feel because this is actually like a break in the record. So I kind of did like a bunch of different things in this record to make it just out of this world crazy. And I'm gonna drop my acid ripples in there right now. Kind of gives you like a sad feel, right? So I'll bless it for you guys. And then drop the whole record back in. So I got like a nice little break in there. And I added these dope ass like bass wobbles that I use in Massive. This shit is like, it sounds amazing. Check it out. So it kind of matched the sample, which was kind of funny to me, but it came out perfect. Then I got this drop. In all my records, I got a Darth Vader tag. And in all my records, I got this Darth Vader tag. Check it out. Makes the record like, to me, like a lot better as far as like what I'm trying to do. It just helps bring out everything. So like when I do it, it's dope because I always add like for instance in this record, like you got the drop. When the drop hits, that's when I add the sound, so it sounds like this. And it's dope because like people will hear it and they'll be like, yo, was that Darth Vader breathing? Or like, what the fuck was that? It just, to me, I just like fucking with people. It's dope. I try to take the record as far as I can. just production-wise, you know, not even as like a rapper or like I'm thinking of it as a rapper. Like as a producer, I try to take it to the next level, just to try to push boundaries and try to make everybody better. So, and basically this is a mix between the fade out and the bass that I added in there with the filter, God level Nia sample, and the original sample as well. So I try to push all the boundaries, man. But I'll play you guys this record. Check it out. Like a nice little drop, nice little break in between everything. Just, it makes everything sound ridiculous, you know what I mean? And then bring it all back in. No 808, none at all. Let people groove out to it, you know what I mean? And the 808s come back in. This part's really interesting. Originally I had this like hi-hat in there and it sounded mad dry with nothing. So what I did was I took pieces of the original like drum loop that I used from Ellie's original song, and I basically just chopped it and added this little like cymbal sound, and that's all it does, and it just adds more dimension to the record. It just makes it sound That's Every Time You Go, produced by Marcè Reazon. Probably dropping this on M, so I'm excited for you guys to hear it, the finished product once it's done. But you know, I'm really excited. Alright, so now I showed you guys my place, my studio. I showed you guys how I make beats. Now I want to give you guys a little bit like a sneak peek to my new project M, coming soon. Check it out.
Praise the Lord, I'm nothing you've ever seen before. Marcè Reazon, young Vader, it's the leading force.
Check this last one right here, man. You gotta edit this. That's all I can give you for right now. Be sure to follow me, man, Marcè Reazon on Twitter. And be sure to keep an eye out for my next project, M, coming soon. Alright, peace out.